a play on words today because I didn't think of a cool icebreaker question. I just asked everyone to name their. It doesn't have to be all-time favorite, but a favorite action film.
Well, I haven't heard everybody else's, but I'm sure it's already been said. But I'll go straight up action movie. I'll go with Die Hard.
Very nice, very nice. Rachel, Sebastian?
My husband proposed to me after Die Hard, just saying. Like, we saw the film, that gave him the gumption. Ex-husband. But it was.
But it's about love is worth fighting for.
Exactly. And
thematically.
Right. So every time someone argues if it's a Christmas movie, I say it's actually a romance movie.
Yay. Does Raiders of the Lost Ark count?
Of course it does. Yeah.
Okay, then that. But I've also been thinking, when you guys were talking about writing action, and I don't think it's been made yet. I don't know if anybody ever read Patrick Eason's script Wonderkind. That being here, best action writing that I've read, because it's very descriptive but very concise and very emotionally involving on a character level. To me, that's always kind of a perfect example of how to write action. If you can get your hands on that script, it's called Wonderkind by Patrick Eason. It's Aison.
I'm done speaking. I'll also say, Barry has read Edward Savio. I don't know how many other of you have read Edward Savio's work, but one of the notes that we get on this new series of books that we've done is that his action is so incredibly specific. And I know if he could join us today instead of writing, thank you, God, he's writing, that he would probably say something like, people are saying, like, don't necessarily go into detail on action, but when he puts action in scripts, there's so much action. It's like edge of your seat action through 3 books, right? He also makes a point of always having it integral to teaching you or telling you something extra about the character. So it's not just advancing the story, but it's in the way the person chooses to do it. If it's specifically action, combat action. The way, even just reaching for something or doing something, it's all informs you about the character. So it's not just action. It's this great opportunity in a really tiny little subtle way to throw in just enough so that you're also, the thing about scripts is the first people that are reading them are the gatekeepers. And so you're really entertaining them, in my opinion, sometimes on a little limited basis, as much as you're telling your story. And those are the people that are going to go to the next person. So sometimes it's just a little adjective here, or a little extra piece of information there, or a certain kind of action choice, taking a little extra thought into what that action, the way that action happens, that helps you inform something that, like the subtext, right? It's like great subtext. It helps you inform all of the things you need to know about that character. You can add like an extra layer to a person's personality by just making those interesting choices. Even in combat scenes, in what the person chooses as a weapon, in how they choose to reach for it, and where they choose to. You're just saying so much about the character when you're writing action. So, to me, it's not so much throwaway space at all.
You know how I love the writing of Edward Savio. And I can recall a comedic but action scene that he wrote where diplomats were fighting, and meant they were fighting very ineptly and accidentally impaling themselves on the little decorative flags. And it was so fabulous. So yes, Lisa, you're so right that even with something like that, he makes it specific to character. We're quite his fan. But it's a fabulous.
Yeah, and an opportunity for humor too, right? So it's both. It's character development and an opportunity for humor. And you're right. He's every little tiny detail. He was the first. You guys, if you don't know in this room, Edward was the first author that I'd ever read. He was a screenwriter, but he wrote his first book. And the first thing of his that I read was when I was a try at TV packaging, and I read his novel, which had gotten really good coverage. And it was the first thing that I ever read that I'm like, I want to be a lit agent. I want to handle writers. I want to work with writers. Oh my God, this is so good. So if you guys want to, it's in a novel, so it'll be really interesting since the TV series that we're putting together is going to be a very action-based. It'll be really interesting to follow along the IP if you're interested. And you can find links in my link tree at the top of my Instagram. But if you're interested, you can follow along and see how all this incredible action is written in depth in the books, and how that's going to get translated by someone who's also a professional screenwriter. So it's not going to be handed off. I mean, obviously, we're going to have other people because we're going to be doing it for TV, so we're going to have other writers. But, you know, in general, his action is so clearly written, it's so unbelievably specific to furthering the story. That'll be really interesting if anybody has the time to read the book and follow along as we do the show and see how it develops for yourself.
Noah, can I read one paragraph and see what you guys think of it? See what you get from it?
Yeah, sure. Yes, sure. Sorry, I have to unmic or unmute. Yes.
Yeah, that helps. All right, so I'm going to read you guys one paragraph, and then you tell me what you get of character from it. Here goes. Parking lot, Atlanta day. 4 unmarked SUVs are parked in an otherwise empty lot. Several tactical agents in full gear stand between the vehicles finalizing a plan. Nearby, Supervisory Special Agent Darius Hammond, 51, looks on. A Dodge Charger races into the lot and parks. A woman jumps out, pops a breath mint, and walks over while putting on her FBI windbreaker over a Kevlar vest. This is Erica Quinn, tall, muscular, red hair tied back in a ponytail, piercing blue eyes. There you go.
Okay, so first off, I just want to chime in. The abruptness of the cadence of the description, right? Curt, to the point, piercing blue eyes, you know, it's got this like a staccato kind of, she is all business. And so it even has a cadence to the description of the action that it wouldn't do that.
Nice.
Yeah, the voice. The voice is there. Love it.
Cool.
Yeah, you know what you're in for. You know, it's like, okay, this is what I'm sitting down to read. You got tone, you have character set up, even with no dialogue. It's like, you kind of know what you're in for, which is great.
I was gonna see if you guys caught the breath mint.
I was gonna say, I really just like how it gets to the point just so quickly. There's no kind of self-indulgence, which is what I was going to mention earlier. Often I read scripts and, what was his name? That was in here earlier. He was saying, somebody might be a really great novelist, but I love reading scripts and I want somebody to get to the point. So I'm like, oh, what's next? What's next? I can't wait. Oh my gosh, tell me what's next. Oh, I'm so excited. Instead of doing this long, scene description, kind of like Jess was talking about. So I really like with what you just shared, Sean, how it just, boom, get to the point. Let's go.
Makes me very happy because that was the introduction of our lead character in my partner and I's television pilot.
I like it. I'm excited for the green light. Okay, so I forgot to hit go live on the broadcast, but it is live now. Looks like there's more people watching than there are in Clubhouse room right now, so that's cool. But hopefully everyone can see that. And I want to go into Shawshank now with again, the idea of evoking setting and atmosphere. And we're gonna read 66 and 65. And then we're going to go into a piece of dialogue at the end that kind of, really brings together everything that he did in the preceding description. So again, if you're just joining us, we're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you go to the link tree in my Instagram, you can find where those broadcasts are right now. And while you're there, if you wouldn't mind, you can also like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. Would be lovely. But this is the screenplay for Shawshank, a little film some of y'all might know. And we're going to read page 66 and 65 and then end with a little piece of dialogue. Interior, guard station, outer office, day. Andy shoots a look at the bathroom and smiles. Go for broke. He lunges to his feet and barricades the front door, then the bathroom. He returns to the desk and positions the PA microphone. He works up his courage, then flicks all the toggles to on. A squeal of feedback echoes briefly. Interior, exterior, various PA speakers, day. And the Mozart is suddenly broadcast all over the prison. Interior bathroom, day. Wiley lunges to his feet, pants tangling around his ankles. Interior, exterior, Shawshank prison, various locations, day. Cons all over the prison stop whatever they are doing, freezing in mid-step to listen, gazing up at the speakers. The stamping machines in the plate shop are shut down. The laundry line goes silent, grinding to a halt. The wood shop machines are turned off, buzzing to a stop. The motor pool, the kitchen, the loading dock, the exercise through yard, the numbing routine of prison life itself all grinds through to a sudden halt. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. Everybody just stands in place, listening to the music, hypnotized. Interior guard station, day. Andy is reclined in the chair, transported arms fluidly conducting the music, ecstasy, and rapture. Shawshank no longer exists. It has been banished from the mind of men. Exterior exercise yard, day. Camera tracks along groups of men, all riveted. Piece of dialogue from Red and Wiley. Andy nods. Wiley disappears into the toilet, Jughead comics in hand. Alone, Andy starts going through the boxes like a starving man exploring packages of food. He doesn't know where to turn first. He gets giddy, ripping boxes open and pulling out books, touching them and smelling them. He rips open another box. This one contains an old pornographic player, industrial gray and green, the words Portland Public School District stenciled on the side. The box also contains stacks and stacks of used record albums. Andy reverently slips a stack from the box and starts flipping through them. Used Nat King Cole, Bing Crosby, etc. He comes across a certain album, Mozart's Les Nozz de Figaro. He pulls it from the stack, gazing upon it as men transfix. It is a thing of beauty. It is the Grail. Interior bathroom, day. Wiley sits in one of the stalls, Jughead comic on his knees. Interior guard station. Outer office, day. Andy wrestles through the pornographic player onto the guard's desk, sweeping things into the floor.
I think that's phonographic.
Although that is more exciting, and these 2 pages I sent you, Noah, are
Phonographic
I'm
player.
sorry.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Suzanne and the Castetta. Interior bathroom, day. Wiley pauses, puzzled. He thinks he hears music. And then the piece of dialogue is, of course, from Red and voiceover. I tell you, those voices soared higher and farther than anybody in a gray place dares to dream. It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made these walls dissolve away. And for the briefest of moments, every last man at Shawshank felt free. Do.
I love how you just
I
feel
sent-
it for the
I sent
beginning.
you those pages, and I literally had goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I sent them to you in the wrong order. I just realized I'm sorry, but I got goosebumps just hearing it.
I was waiting for the Morgan Freeman voice now.
Well, there's no reason to get canceled this early.
I don't know
know what those two ladies were singing about.
Gosh, Shawshank and The Green Mile are two films that are just phenomenal all the way around. And, the production teams were almost exactly the same. I love those films. This is just a phenomenal scene, even when I read it 66% and 65.
My fault.
No problem. Man, I'm so sleepy. But yeah, I mean, you there's a rhythm to it. There's a staccato that constantly pulls you along without being over descriptive. This is what great description and great action lines can do for your screenplay, and more specifically and more importantly, your reader. It brings them into emotion, tone, setting, the whole 9 yards. That's what great action does.
This is one of the scripts that I use in my screenwriting elevated class, and I assign a ton of reading, but I pick this one because I love it so much, and I break it down and I show you. That's why you saw that note that said, look, this sentence epitomizes everything that's come before. But, or here's the theme stated, or here's the, look at this, how this is done. Because Darabont was so talented. But we were talking about setting and we were talking about atmosphere. And he's a master at that. And, what's fabulous about this particular moment is, and it's about at the middle, it's part of the midpoint sequence, is that Shawshank prison is a character in this film. It is a character, and so the atmosphere of it matters. This is just, it's beautiful. It's not like I got real honest to God goosebumps hearing it. Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to switch gears and move over to the screenplay for the feature film for Hannah. Hannah has been done by Amazon as a series now, and it was originally a film. Hannah's a phenomenal character. I've always loved her story. And I love both the series and the feature. And I think it's another example of, kind of action-y based action and scene description that doesn't get overwritten or slows down, because even though it's packed with action and there's a lot going on, but you don't get confused, it's very easy to do, most especially like going back to Shawshank, we were jumping around from location to location, but because of the through line, you knew, like, it never got confusing. You knew what was happening where. We touched in with each of the ensemble just long enough to establish where they are and what they're going through, and then they're all collectively go through the experience at the same time. With Hannah, it's a very singular style of storytelling as far as characters go. But again, a great example on the screenplay forefront. Let me make sure that I'm presenting. Yeah, okay. So again, this is the feature version. This is the third scene in the film. Exterior, forest floor, later. The deer lies on its side. Hannah breathes hard. She reaches deep into her body cavity and pulls out intestine, stomach, liver. She freezes, sensing danger. Her hand deep inside the animal, she listens. She looks out into the still forest. No sound. Eric, mid-40s, a mammoth with leathery face, stands behind her like a ghost. Eric says, "You're dead. Right now, I've killed you." Hannah spins, spraying deer blood onto the snow, and brings her fist right to Eric's face. He blocks and thumps an open palm onto Hannah's shoulder, sending her sprawling into the snow. She leaps to her feet as Eric aims a kick at her head. She dodges, punches below his kneecap, and goes for her pistol. Eric slaps the hand away. Use your hands. She goes for the gun, and again, he stops her. He moves in tight, pulling the gun from its holster and tossing it deep into the forest. Hannah clips Eric's temple, sending him to the ground. She wraps her arms around his neck, preparing to snap, but she can't. He throws her over his shoulder and into a pile of snow. Eric stands and wipes snow from his pants. His face shows a touch of frustration. He plods into the forest. Drag it back yourself. Hannah drags herself to the deer side. She stares at its dead face. So again, you know, it's a quick fight sequence. It does take a page to get all the way through it, but when it comes to page length and scene description and action that involves specific stunt work, specifically with fight choreography, your normal run page length and time on screen rules go out the window. These are situations where you can have an eighth of a page take a couple of days to shoot. You can have 2 pages take 4 hours to shoot. There really isn't a rule of thumb when, and I know there's a bunch of them that are said in the filmmaking, budgeting, and scheduling community, but every project is different, every page is different, and they need to be treated as such. This is a full length page of action with fight choreography. And again, you can see the way he describes the sequence. You know exactly what's happening. You know what people look like without being overly descriptive. And again, you're getting pulled along for the ride, which is what you want to do for the reader, and eventually, obviously, your audience. Any other points on this page from Hannah? Yeah, I love blood on white. If for anyone who's seen my work, you know that. But yeah, I love blood on white. Also a Tarantino-y thing to do.
I like that use of that Tarantino-y.
Yeah.
I also feel like this one is like pretty visceral. Like each of the pieces of writing you've shared have been so unique and have hit such a different way. I've never seen this movie, so for me, this was the first time that I knew anything about it. Of course, I've heard of it, but I was like, ooh, I feel that, which I think when you're reading something is a really nice feeling to have.
I love Hannah. Hey, you speak of Savio and he arrives. You're supposed to be writing.
We might have said his name.
Yeah.
3 times between us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't want to bother you, Edward, but because I know that you're somewhere where you're at an undisclosed location and you're either writing and or having a life moment. But we were all talking about you because this is your thing, right? And I was sort of praising, without going into detail, because I'd love for you to go into detail. Oh my God! We were sort of praising your further advancement of character through action description and all your delicate, well thought out choices, and how you deliver it also, which is really interesting. So if you want to come up, you're welcome up.
I also don't want to get in trouble with Lisa, so you should be writing.
Yes, exactly. I
was
said
just
this
driving a comic fight
It's
scene.
not here, and then you came. I'm like, thank you. I guess he might be in a loud place. It's normally he's not shy on stage.
That's fine. He can join us at any time, any day. Let's keep going with because I kind of want to end the room with bringing subtext through action. So let's and scene description, but not as heavy as the actual subtext class. But let's keep going with bringing evoking emotion and setting up tone and scene with action and scene description, and we're gonna go to one of I have tons of favorite films, but again, it's another one of mine. This is another one that Barry sent over to me, and I had planned on putting together as well. But we're gonna read Spielberg's not Spielberg, but the opening for Jaws, which is kind of Spielberg is we did our openings room last week, and Spielberg is kind of the king of that teaser, gets you into the the tone and everything of his film. And
just look at the very last paragraph if you want it to be shorter, because it's all good, but the very last paragraph on the second page was like, boom.
Yeah, nope, absolutely. And I love the story of Jaws and that whole period of Spielberg's life. It's if you ever get the chance to watch Spielberg's in the actor studio, I highly suggest it. There's a lot of misinformation around the story of Jaws, but he clears it up pretty clearly for James Lipton. Over black. Sounds of inner spaces rushing forward. There's a splinter of blue light in the center of the picture. It breaks wide, showing the top and bottom of a silhouetted curtain of razor-sharp teeth, suggesting that we are inside of a tremendous gullet, looking out at the onrushing undersea world at night. We hear a symphony of underwater sounds, landslide, metabolic sounds, the rare and secret noises that certain undersea species share with each other. Also, the hint of a familiar music, twisted and distorted by the depths. Cut to exterior beach night, shark's point of view, rising out of the water, looking at. It is a pleasant, moonlit, windless night in mid-June. We see a long, straight stretch of white beach. Behind the low dunes are the dark shapes of large, expensive houses. Here, a number of voices singing. It sounds like an Eastern University alma mater, no longer distorted. Exterior beach night, another angle. Around a blazing bonfire, a group of young men and women, beer cans or maybe a keg in evidence, as well as the Boda's Spanish leather wine bag, much in favor by beach and ski bum types. The group is swapping sentimental alma maters, weepily singing Eastern Ivy League anthems, Dartmouth, Cornell, Harvard, Penn, etc. Two young people break away from the others. They are Tom Cassidy and Christy. Behind them, there is a considerable necking activity. Tom and Christy are more serious. Tom makes a clumsy attempt at snaring Christy, cups her from behind. She squirms playfully out of his grasp. We discover he's not especially sober. Exterior, another part of the beach night. Tom and Christy are separated from the others, silhouetted against the fire. She pauses and looks out at the ocean. He is plodding along in the sand, winded. Chrissy runs down the slope of the dune towards the water, leaving Tom reeling atop the dune. As she runs, she is shedding her clothes. Tom is trying to trail her by her clothes, like Hansel following breadcrumbs through the woods, but Christy is way ahead of him. She runs headlong into the inviting sea, plunges cleanly into the water with a light whoops as the cold water sweeps over her. Behind all of this, we continue to hear sentimental beery chorus of alma mater. Then we see it, a gentle bulge in the water, a ripple that passes her a dozen feet away. A pressure wave lifts her up, then eases her down again, like a smooth, sudden wall. She looks around for him, finds him still on the beach, his feet tangled in his pants, which have dropped around his ankles. She starts to swim back to him. Exterior, Christy in the water. Her expression freezes. The water bulges racing towards her. The first bump jolts her upright out of the water to her hips. She reaches under the water to touch her leg. Whatever she feels makes her open her mouth to scream, but she is slammed again hard, whipped into an arc of about 8 feet up and down, submerging her down to her open mouth, choking off of any scream she might try to make. Another jolt to her body, driving her under so that only her hair swirls on the surface. Then it too is sucked below in a final and terrible jerking motion. Hold on the eddies and swirls until we're sure it's all over. it's one of the best. You know, it doesn't get better than that. It's, you know, yeah, you know, you can't help but hear John Williams in your head. You know, if you're ever in Northeast Florida, there is a lazy river and a wave pool that you can go to in October and watch Jaws from inside the pool in the lazy river. And it's very, very creepy, but it's a fun experience.
Did you notice that on page 1, the guy clumsily grabs the girl, and in the end, the predator grabs the girl?
Yeah.
And that is not accidental, I'm certain.
It's true. And they haven't even introduced the antagonist yet, the mayor. I love Jaws. You know, it's phenomenal film. There is a masterclass in blocking and camera work. But this teaser, it's got to be one of the greatest in cinema history. You know. It's not super complex. It might get a little more wordy than I would choose to do in some of the block of action, but you know, this sets you up for the rest of the film beautifully. Any other words from our mods about Jaws and Spielberg's teaser?
I think what's interesting is, you know, that writing is visceral. It's like, you know, you definitely understand exactly what is happening to her, and it's hard to read at a certain point. You know, it's like, Jesus. So I mean, its effectiveness is clear right from the page, and then you just know when you're going to put that on film, it's going to make people nuts.
Visceral is my most favorite word, and it is. It's visceral because you feel it, you experience it, and it's not graphic. There's no blood, there's no guts. It's visceral because it has just enough to activate our imagination. Yes.
And I like how it also, I do a lot of horror movies, Barry's in a million, but it also, I always give this note on scripts. I go, all right, cool. The character is in fear. What about your reader? What about your viewer? And, you know, the moments, because we're with, you know, the boyfriend, and we know that suspense there. And then we have the point of view of the shark at the beginning. It's like we're in complete fear. And then she is for like 2 seconds. And it's just, you have to do both. You have to scare your characters and you have to scare your audience. It's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's a skill, you know, and it's something that you have to get good at. And there's there's different flavors, you know. You can put your character in danger without them knowing, you know, leave them ignorant to the danger, which is a useful tactic to bring suspense and tension and that kind of thing. But it's real easy to get super tropey and campy if you're not careful about it. And I think, you know, the best way to get better at it, not to be corny, is to do it and then do it again and then do it again and rewrite it and look at it from different angles. You know, take notes and rewrite. You know, writers rewrite. I want to do something fun, and I didn't plan on doing this. I just downloaded the script now, but I want to switch over from Jaws to Alien because I love. You know, I love I think one of the greatest, you know, not even elevator pitches, but just the idea of of him saying that, you know, it's Jaws in space is just so perfect for the description of Alien. I too like the way that it's written in a very haiku, jumping around from scene to scene manner. Let me add that to the screen. Again, welcome everybody to Fun with Filmmakers on Fridays. My name is Noah. This is my room. I run every Friday. We are all about betterment in the film and TV community. And it's just a room where I put together a panel of subject matter experts and we talk about, you know, different aspects of filmmaking, screenwriting, storytelling as a whole. It's just, again, all about betterment in the film community and trying to stop or ease the misinformation that sometimes gets spread on Clubhouse. We're going to, if you aren't on the broadcast yet, there's a lot of people here, but if you want to hop over, if you go to the link tree in my Instagram profile, you can see the links to either YouTube, Facebook Live, or Twitch. We're live on all three platforms. And we're going to just briefly read the beginning of Alien. I didn't plan on this, but I just love the idea of going from Jaws to Alien. Fade in sometime in the future. Interior engine room, empty and cavernous. Interior engine cubicle, circular, jammed with instruments. Excuse me. All of them idle. Console chairs for two, empty. Interior oily corridor, sea level, long, dark, empty. Turbos throbbing, no other movement. Interior corridor A level, long, empty. Interior infirmary A level, distressed ivory walls, all instrumentation at rest. Interior corridor bridge level A, black, empty. Interior bridge vacant, two space helmets resting on chairs. Electrical hum, lights of the helmets begin to signal one another. Moments of silence, a yellow light goes on. Data mine bank in background. Electronic hum, a green light goes on in front of one helmet. Electronic pulsing sounds. A red light goes on in front of other helmet. An electronic conversation ensues, reaches a crescendo, then silence. The lights go off, except for the yellow. Interior corridor, hypersleep vault, lights come on. 7 gowns hang from curved walls. Vault doors open. Interior hypersleep vault, explosion of escaping gas. The lid on a freezer pops open. Slowly, groggily, Kane sits up, pale. Kane rubs the sleep from his eyes, stands, looks around, stretches, looks at the other freezer compartments, scratches, moves off. Interior galley, Kane plugs in a Silex, lights a cigarette, coughs, grinds some coffee beans, and runs some water through. You get only what you need to see. It's super, again, in a haiku fashion, just it's this, then this, then this, then this. There's not a whole bunch of like literally the first scene is interior engine room, empty, cavernous. It doesn't say, we open in a vast empty room with cavernous, an environment. It's 2 words. It's 2 words, and you get everything you need to know what's going on in that scene from 2 words. Again, it goes back to the sparing what needs to be in words in the scene so that the reader gets what's going on, and that's it. It moves along pretty quickly, and we know what's going on. Any other comments, moderators?
I've read the screenplay a few times, and yeah, the scene on the table when Alien pops out of Kane is super short and just like it happens and runs away. The crew scatters. Yeah, it's a great read. It's a good read, and not all screenplays are. Like a good screenplay, a good film can be not all that enjoyable of a read, but this one is.
I love it. I think it does a great job of sparsely and effectively putting the action in there so that we know what we should be seeing. I want to continue with action and scene description using action films, and we're going to switch over to Die Hard. I think that, you know, Die Hard is a kind of a staple in the action world. And it's another one that I think uses scene description to very clearly and distinctly tell the reader what they should be seeing without being overly wordy. Let me find it. Jaws. Okay, Die Hard. Okay, he stops as Theo turns and faces him. He knows suddenly what it's all about. Hans smiles at Tagachi. Hans slowly takes out his Walther and his silencer. He feels his silencer. He feels the silencer a moment, as if making a decision, then slips it back into his coat pocket. Tagachi sees the gun. Hans presses the gun against Tagachi's lapel. He gulps. Theo looks hard at Carl, who reluctantly meets his look. Carl gives Theo $5, a private bet. Tagachi takes heart, but Hans doesn't put up his gun. He cocks the gun, then hesitates, moves the barrel upward off his suit. He moves the barrel up Tagachi's neck, seemingly searching for just the right spot. He pauses below Tagachi's jaw, next to his jugular, and snuggles the barrel gently into the niche. Tagachi looks around the room. The others watch stoically. Hans moves the barrel from the jugular to a point directly over Tagachi's Adam's apple and finally seems satisfied. The executive locks eyes with Hans. On McClane, same time. He presses his eye to the crack in the door just in time to see Hans pull the trigger. In the tiny room, it sounds like Hiroshima. The blast knocks Tagachi backwards onto his butt, a gaping hole in his throat. He remains seated upright for an instant, stunned, before Hans steps up and puts another bullet into his chest. Close on McClane. He is stunned, moves back from the door, holding his breath. His gun bumps against the paneling. He looks up at the sound. Marco turns to the door to the hallway where McClane was and throws open the door. The long, darkened hallway is deserted. He steps into the hallway and stops in front of the only door near the conference room, a supply closet, and tries the door. It's locked. Nothing. Carl stares at the body of Tagachi, then looks up at Hans as Marco returns to the room. Interior supply closet. In the darkness of the closet, we make out McClane, pressed against the wall. He listens to the footsteps moving away and lets out a breath. So again, you know, it's not overwritten. We're not getting more information than we necessarily need. It moves along pretty quickly with a pace that's consistent. And there's a lot going on. You know, again, we're moving around from scene to scene, but you don't get confused as the reader, which is easy to do, you know, especially as an up-and-coming writer when you're trying to put together a sequence such as this.
Also very different from, I don't know if that's the shooting draft, but it's very different from what Hans ends up doing to Takagi in the actual, you know, in the final cut of the film. In terms of, in the script, it seems almost like it's a form of torture the way he's moving the gun around him. In the movie, it's much more brutal and efficient in the way that he's just kind of like, I'm going to count to 3, and there won't be a 4, and then he just counts to 3 and shoots it.
I picked it says second revised draft, 1987, because sometimes I like earlier drafts. Or I have them, or I have them in my library and I scan them. But what I love about this, even if what they wound up doing was different, is that the description and action choices are chosen to support character, to build tone. I mean, this guy is not just go boom, bam, blood splatters. You're creating the portrait of a truly evil, calculating, smart villain. Ugh.
Also, for anybody that doesn't know and is interested, particularly in this movie, the making of this movie on the Blu-ray and stuff is pretty great. But one of the things that is talked about is that on the set, there's a later scene in the movie where McClane and Hans meet face to face, and McClane doesn't know what Hans looks like, and he fakes an American accent to try and get the upper hand on McClane to get his detonators back. That scene was being shot prior to the scene of Takagi's death, and I guess the late Alan Rickman did his sort of California guy accent, and they were like, "Oh, you should do that." And I'm like, "You know what? We should have them meet. Let's have McClane and Gruber meet, and McClane won't know it's him." And somebody said, "Well, you can't do that because McClane's already seen him kill Takagi." And they're like, "Yeah, but we haven't shot that yet. So we'll put a door or a table blocking McClane's view, so he'll be able to see Takagi but not Hans." And that's how that all came to be. It's pretty fantastic.
Awesome. Go ahead, Aaron. Oh, I thought Aaron unmuted.
No, it's just, that's a cool thing that Sean was saying.
Oh, yeah. You were clapping, sorry. Gotcha. Hey, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is Fun with Filmmakers on Fridays. It's my room. I run every Friday. It's just a room that's all about betterment in the filmmaking community. Just a reminder, a couple of rules. There's no pitching. The panel here is a group of really tailored subject matter experts who know what we're talking about. And I keep bringing up, there is truly no wrong or right way to do anything. We're here just to discuss process and how we do it. It's less about arguing over what's correct and what's not. We will be doing a Q&A session towards the end. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and start raising your hands. We'll wrap up here shortly. Couple of business items were brought to you today by Boca Rentals. Boca is based in West LA. They're a premium production equipment rental house servicing the LA County area and cities all over the United States. Boca is one of the greatest rental houses, and the one I use for all my productions west of Texas, and we're actually using them for production in Mississippi next month. Boca takes pride in the reputation they've built with their clients. Please read their 400 plus reviews. Please use the offer code FUNFILM for 10% off your next G&E or camera package rental, and tell them I sent you. Film Tools. We're also brought to you by Film Tools, Hollywood's source for motion picture and digital video equipment, including grip and lighting equipment to expendables. I personally use them constantly for production supplies. Film Tools is the go-to destination for creatives looking to source production equipment such as camera support, lighting, studio carts, grip, electrical, recordable media, hard drives, memory card storage, audio equipment, and on-set expendables. They love what they do. They're a passionate company built by filmmakers, photographers, educators, animators, developers, and creative doers that love to share their experiences to help their customers achieve their goals. Please go to filmtools.com/fun-with-filmmakers and use the offer code FUNFILM for 10% off your order. We're also brought to you by Canacity. Canacity is a line of high-end fashionable streetwear and accessories featuring commissioned images, all focusing on one subject, the feminine spirit. It's a phenomenal hip line. Lisa reps the company. And if you use the offer code FUNFILM, you'll get 20% off your order of amazing wearable street art. I do want to keep this going. We did have a couple of mods jump up and join us. David's on the phone. Michael, you want to introduce yourself and Aaron? And then if David hops off, we'll go to him as well.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Funny, really quick before I answer myself, I came in about 20 minutes ago before I had a phone call. Literally came in, police pinged me into the room, did not see the title of it, and you were reading an action scene. And I literally thought to myself before I looked at the room, I was like, damn, shit must have really went off in the back channel last night. Give me a good 5-minute chuckle, so that's why I couldn't speak before. But anyway, my name is Michael Again. I'm an executive producer. I'm with Fractal Studios. Last movie was Last Days of American Crime, currently streaming on Netflix. Thank you, everyone. Hey, my name's Aaron. I'm a writer director. I also do a lot of graphic design stuff.
Awesome. And then David can introduce himself later. All right, let's keep this going. Where do we want to go next? Let's do a great opening that shows theme and tone, similar to what we were talking about earlier. Let's jump over to M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense. Give me 1 second to find the screenplay. Little Miss Sunshine should be next. Okay. Again, if you're looking for the broadcast, if you go to the link tree in my Instagram profile, you'll see where we're broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And this is the opening sequence for M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense. Interior basement evening. A naked light bulb sparks to life. It dangles from the ceiling of a basement. Light, quick footsteps as Anne Crow moves down the stairs. Anna is the rare combination of beauty and innocence. She stands in the chilly basement in an elegant summer dress that outlines her slender body. Her gentle eyes move across the empty room and come to rest on a rack of wine bottles covering the entire wall. She walks to the bottles. Her fingertips slide over the labels. She stops when she finds just the right one, a tiny smile as she slides it out. Anna turns to leave, stops. She stares at the shadowy basement. It's an unsettling place. She stands very still and watches her breath from a tiny cloud in the cold air. She's visibly uncomfortable. Anna Crow moves from the staircase in a hurry, each step faster than the next. She climbs out of the basement in another burst of light, quick footsteps. We hear her hit the light switch. The light bulb dies. Dripping black devours the room. Cut to interior living room, evening. 2 place settings are arranged on the living room coffee table. Takeout Chinese food sits half-eaten on good china. An empty bottle of red wine sits between boxes of Chinese food. Anna arrives with the backup bottle and is now wearing a sweater. She hands a collegiate rowing team sweatshirt to Malcolm. Malcolm Crowe sits on the floor at the coffee table, his vest and tie on the sofa behind him. A jacket and an overcoat lay on a briefcase next to him. Malcolm is in his 30s with thick wavy hair and striking, intelligent eyes that reflect years of intense study. His charming, easygoing smile spreads across his face. What I love about, again, it's only a page, and look at all of the information we got in 1 page of screenwriting. This is probably the most similar to the manner in which I write, which again is you're walking dangerously on close to the line of directing from the page, but you don't cross the line. You're very clear about what you want to see, what is specific as far as your shots, but you don't ever say, we see a hand grab this. It's just, this is what's happening. And then using your own imagination, you get to put together visually what the writer is going for. In this case, the writer director. It's a great scene. It sets up a lot. There's a lot of character and voice. You keep hearing Barry talk about voice, like the writer's voice by the time you get through 2/8 of this page. And that is something that is a huge indicator that you're reading a professional and a highly accomplished screenwriter. Is when there's voice, there's subtext, and there is an understanding of structure without being a slave to it. And I think that I think that the way this is written, again, it goes back to pacing. You don't get overburdened with over descriptors, but there's enough specificity that you know exactly what the writer wants to be seen.
The light bulb dies. Doesn't burn out, doesn't fizzle out, doesn't shut off, it dies. And it's unnaturally cold. And you know this from several reasons. It's the reason it's chilly. She's in a summer dress. She can see her breath. And it's, why is it so cold? She's in a summer dress. It doesn't make sense. So it's just like the light bulb dies. It's so focused. So he's told you in there, in under the first page. This is going to be about. I love it.
And no spoilers, but he's dead the whole time.
Yeah, I like what Barry was saying. Just the specificity is just, when you're writing something, or when you're reading something, or writing something, and you see that, you're just like, yes, we're with the 18 right now. So, love that.
This is where the choice of words, it's a writer director, so it's really, we expect him to really see his head and really from writers and you're getting them to get a find what I call the deft sheet, but that you might not yet be able to get rid of, but get away with it. I love this piece. Thanks for sharing it.
It's kind of this film is kind of a commentary in a cutesy way on the like where we as a society, especially at that time, see communication in a relationship. Because before the pin drops, I've heard a couple of people, talk about they figured out the ending before they got there. I didn't for this one. I normally do. I know that my grandmother did figure it out. But if you think about it, throughout this entire film, she never speaks to him. And as a society, we were all like, yeah, that's normal. That's fine. That's how things work. And then at the end, when you realize that he's dead, it's just like, oh, I guess that's culpable as well. But I just love that it like subtly and without being preachy, just briefly touches on communication and relationship, and then revolves that all around. It's a great read too. I love his writing.
He does a beautiful job also in this little amount of time that they actually have together, showing that they love each other.
Yeah, I think of like the opening sequence of Up, you know, really quickly showing a loving relationship. Hey, David, you were on the phone earlier. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick and tell us your favorite action film? David must be multitasking. We're going to open up for Q&A. If you have a question around screenwriting or action and scripting, go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll start bringing you up individually. Starting with William. William, I'm inviting you up. There we go.
Hey, I just want to chime in and say he's the master of setting the stage for the very first paragraph of page. My favorite of his is Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. He sits down next to the beautiful woman. He takes off his wedding ring. We know everything we need to know. The morose look on his face, the removal of his ring. Just that to me is the epitome of his work in setting the stage.
And find that moment, that line is the button. And I find that I'm all about subtext. So if there's a line and there's no reaction from the important people in the scene, then it is not wrapped up. If there is a great line and you want to get out, generally there should be a reaction to that. And that's the mode to act.
Yeah, sorry, my mic froze, but yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that a lot of times emerging screenwriters and screenwriters just getting started will overwrite. And again, I purposely overwrite my bomb draft, knowing that I'm going to come back and pare it down. And one of the indicators that a draft is not ready for, to be sent out or to be sent for coverage or anything of that nature is when the scenes go on too long. You know what I mean? Like get the scene done. You don't have to come in on a scene with the beginning of action. It doesn't have to be somebody waking up and turning off their alarm clock. And the ending doesn't have to be, someone going to bed. You can get in late and you can leave early and get what the point of that scene was done in the same manner. If you present a problem in the scene, it doesn't have to be solved by the end of that scene. You can bring that back later. You can have a character let's say it's a situation where a character is seeking advice from someone. One of my favorite things to do is to have the character be in defiance in the scene. Whether they're like, well, I'm not going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then later on in a scene down the road, have them make the decision that follows that advice as a moment of realization. But as far as like ending a scene, as long as you have accomplished what the goal of that scene was, like Barry said, get out. Get out without having to feel like you need to tie everything up and literally have, characters exit, stage left. That's my piece on it.
Thank you. That really helped.
Absolutely, man. Have a great day and great weekend. Brian.
You as well, man.
Brian, I'm bringing you up to the stage. What's your question, sir?
Yeah, I have a novel, a crime horror novel that I am converting into a screenplay. It's too long for a feature film, but probably too short for like a series. Any sort of rules of thumb to decide like which direction I should go. I mean, I know it's limited knowledge.
Adapting a novel to screen is a difficult process either way you go. I think you need to ask yourself if the story has legs to support a series, meaning that you have enough pros to pull on to keep the audience engaged for seasons, then developing it into a series might be a good idea. The thing that sells a series is a pilot. Where do you end that first episode? What problem do you present that you solve by the end of the pilot? What problem do you present that is going to be the story engine for the rest of that first season and possibly the series? So it's a personal decision, in my opinion. I think that you need to again figure out, does your story have legs to support a series, or is it more a contained one and done film? And if it's linked, that you think is a problem, that's part of the development process as far as turning the novel into a feature, is what scenes do you combine, what storylines do you combine, and how do you pare it down to fit into 90 pages. That's my piece on it. Anybody else?
Hey, Brian, thanks for asking that question. So, okay, I'm sure there's a lot that will go, and I think that the premise would be a key to deciding whether it's a feature or a series. It seems to me that in series right now, what attracts us mostly is sharing gigantic character arcs. You have an opportunity to explore, can I say in a series, no, what's a series? Sorry, not enough time. In a series, you have the opportunity to explore a huge, sprawling character arc that keeps us coming back. The prototype example, Breaking Bad. So if you have a protagonist that has a massive character arc, maybe you could go series. If you have something that is not your characters, but is got a very concept-driven bent to it, then feature would be the way to go. And as a writer trying to go from a novel to a screenplay, it's most often compared to chewing off your leg to get out of a bear trap. It's painful, and there'll be a lot of stuff that you'll have to kill off, but you'll live. Good luck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, perfect characterization where I have 110,000 word novel that I've just been trying to condense into a screenplay.
Not condense, reconceive.
Yeah, it is all written in first-person POVs. Been turning it on its ear to make a screenplay. It's just been, I wouldn't say torture. That's just kind of too much drama was describing it that way. But yeah, it's really been difficult. I know it's a great story, amazing characters, it has legs, as as being some sort of something you put on the screen, but I'm just trying to sort of find my way through it. So I appreciate the advice.
Not a problem, good sir. I wish you well. It's a tough, difficult process, but best of luck to you, sir. Christian, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, man? Love your rooms, Noah, and good to see familiar faces. Just had a quick question from the actor's perspective. I'm about to do like 4 self-tapes. It's one of those days. And thank you to you and David, and there were others that were military, and had a question like a couple, I guess 9 months ago about I was playing a villain, and you guys all gave really good advice and really turned out great for this short film that I was in. So thanks so much for that as well. But yeah, I wanted to ask in terms of the actor's perspective, and I apologize, I haven't been in the room that long. I don't know if you've covered this, but how much do you, as writers and directors, filmmakers, when you're looking at, actor self-tapes, obviously, so much of what you've been describing is the scene descriptions and, the character actions and things. I'm always, I think as the pandemic's gone on, I've gotten much more attuned to them in a way. How much are you wanting actors to really, follow those descriptions? I guess if it's vital to the story or, the dialogue, I guess that's more important. But can there be variation within that? Just to try to get a sense of how that goes.
Oh man, I'll tell you this. So I, on my last project, I cast one of my leads because it was scripted. It was an argument, were the sides, and at the end of the argument, she was supposed to kind of like lunge at her wife out of anger, and the CD sent me, I don't know, maybe 40 tapes, and she saw, I don't know even know how many people, but from all of those, to the best of my knowledge, the one person who did the lunge was this actress, and I mean, she was phenomenal all the way around, but that reason is why I put her in the film. So my thing is, be bold, be willing to be adaptable. If it's a self tape, I would send it to your manager first, like give them 2, and then have them make the choice. But an agent's not going to want to do that. But yeah, if you send it to a manager or an acting coach, and which one do you think, and then submit it that way. I'm into it. If you use a phone for a pistol or something, I get that you're going for it. So for me, I like it. I don't know what David or Brianna feel about it.
I've heard a lot of different things about this. I'm an actress or a screenwriter, and I agree. I'm not sure what I've said on the scene, but a lot of times that freaks people out. So you have to know the line of, okay, I'm doing what it says on the paper, and I think Rose Rosen, she's a casting director. I feel like she's talked about this in your room before, Noah. Go far, but not too far where you're scaring people. No guns, obviously, no knives. I mean, we're still doing self-tapes right now for the most part, but people don't want to see that. That really freaks them out, even on a self-tape. So I think, just doing the intention would be enough in situations like that. And then again,
run it by your reps. If your reps are like, what? No, this isn't good enough, then obviously do what they say to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, a lot. What has been working for me is having it out of frame, like if it is a gun or a knife or some kind of thing like that, having it out of frame just in my hand gives me the feeling, so thanks so much, Brianna and Noah. That's super helpful.
No problem. Oh, no problem. That's why we're here. I feel like this is a good place to end the room for the day. Thank you so much to everyone who attended. Thank you so much to the mods. I really appreciate everyone's help on this. I think it's writing scene description is super important to a screenplay because it's a combination of the writer's voice versus film is a visual medium. What are we seeing? How do you do that effectively is incredibly important to a screenwriter's career. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts before we end the room from anybody?
Thanks for putting together another great room, Noah.
Lovely, thank you. All right, everybody, that's it for today. I really appreciate it. Next week, we are going to be talking about energy on set. It's going to be a fun room. Patricia Chica is going to be our main subject matter expert. But it's a big deal for me. I feel like respect and energy and politeness all flows from the top. So that's something that's always important to me. But that's going to be our subject next Friday. So until then, I hope everyone has a great weekend and come back to us safely next week. Bye, everybody.
You are definitely one of the leaders that God has his hand on to lead us into the roaring 20s. And we're getting ready to roar. We're getting ready to make it happen. And in the words of one of my favorite people,